also welcome you to a special meeting of the Easter Ross Area Committee, which will take place remotely today on Teams, and the meeting was agreed to by the Council on the 9th of March. This meeting will be recorded and uploaded to the Council's YouTube channel. You're invited to attend the meeting, and a notice of the business to be considered is attached. So item 1 is apologies for absence, and I think by attending this meeting, you consent to being recorded. So if everybody in attendance is clear on that. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Fiona, do you have those? Helen?
Chair, I've got apologies from Councillor Monroe, Councillor Smith and Councillor Nolan for the start of the meeting.
Okay. Number 2 is declarations of interest. Have any members an interest to declare? That's I'm not seeing anybody indicating that they have anything to declare, so we'll move on to item 3, community regeneration funding. And there's the report has been circulated in advance to members. I'm hoping you've all had an opportunity to read the papers. I'll assume you have. And for the avoidance of doubt, I'll, at the appropriate time, be asking the committee to consider the applications and agree which applications should receive funding as are set out under item 3 in the papers. So for an introduction to the items that we have to consider, Paula, are you ready to give us an introduction to the items?
Yes. So thank you. Yeah. So today, the community regeneration funding is an umbrella term for several funds that are available for communities and organisations to bid into in Highland. So these include the Highland Coastal Communities Fund and the Place-Based Investment Programme, both of which are Scottish Government funding streams to support economic regeneration and sustainable development. Area committees are awarded devolved allocations according to an approved formula, and decision making on which projects should receive funding sits with elected members. So today there are 4 applications under consideration with a combined grant request of £90,079.40.
Sorry, Paula, I'll have to pause you there. I'm seeing that Councillor Collier has joined us now. So I think probably a good idea for me just to offer Councillor Collier the opportunity to declare an interest at the start of the meeting.
Thank you so much, Councillor Luton. I just joined in, so I have to declare an interest on the Inver Gordon Naval Museum application. So when it's getting discussed, I will leave the room and I'll join back later, if that's okay.
I think
Thank
that's
you.
okay. Is that Fiona and Helen? Are you you're happy with that?
Thanks, I got note of that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Paula, very sorry. Back to you.
Problem. Thank you. Yeah, so today, there are 4 applications under consideration with a combined grant request of £90,079.40. So these are not new applications. So these were the ones that were presented at the area committee on the 23rd of January. However, they were deferred by members pending further information. Within the Easter Ross, so the following area allocations are currently available for distribution. So this is the remaining balance from that meeting back in January. So the Highland Coastal Communities Fund, this is for capital and revenue projects. So there's £54,148.80 available in the budget. And the place-based investment programme, so this is for capital projects only, there's £154,429 available in the budget. So between both funds, there's £208,577.80 of funding available in Easter Ross. Just to explain a little bit about the process, so the team, so myself, we've taken a technical assessment of all projects presented today, and I can confirm that all 4 are technically eligible, and we've also provided a summary RAG assessment with the papers to help members with their decision making. I would like to note that the RAG assessment is purely based on the information presented to us in the application form and during the application process. So in terms of the RAG rating, so if a project has been given a red or an amber against any of the criteria, this doesn't reflect any eligibility issues. It just flags up any outstanding information that wasn't provided with the application, or if they were waiting on consents or match funding, for example. And if members wish to approve any projects that do have an amber or red rating, then we would usually seek to address some of these, not all, by applying any special conditions over and above what's presented in the technical assessment. So yeah, members are asked today to whether to approve, defer or reject any of the applications, and also just to agree the amounts requested by the applicant, and if you wish to attach any specific conditions to these projects. That's my introduction.
Yeah, you're on mute, Derek.
Yep. Okay, so there are 4 applications that we're asked to consider. First of these is on page 6 of your papers, and that's the application from Milton Community Woodland Trust, and that's for path upgrade and maintenance. And I think this was quite a large amount of money when it came before the committee the first time, but it came forward without funding, without a price from a contractor to do the work from memory. And I think that officers have been able to progress things with the group. So Paula, do you want to give a brief introduction to this one?
Yeah, so so that's correct, that they did come in originally looking for 90,000 with not a lot of work around costings, unfortunately. I think that was just due to timing of the application. So they have been able to get 2 quotations, and it is so they're requesting 28,750. So both quotations are around the same amount of funding, but they've obviously put in the cheapest quote in the application. And they've just been a bit more specific as well, how many kilometres of path work that's going to be improved, because last time they hadn't really specified that. So it is for 1.4 kilometres, and this the path will be suitable for wheelchair and pram users, so it is accessible. So there's no any significant issues with the application. You may see in the RAG assessment, I've given them a red for match funding. Again, that's no reflection, because applicants were able to request 100% funding. It's just that they were just given a low score because they are requesting 100%, but they haven't secured, they haven't seek match funding. But it's not a reflection on the application at all. So.
Okay. Members, do we have a view from each of you on this one? Who'd like to go first? Sarah?
Well, I'd be minded to absolutely support them on this. I mean, they've looked at the grant again. They've reworked it. They've fallen in line with what has been requested, and actually, I think it would be good to support them. So, I mean, I would be keen to support this particular request.
Okay, thanks very much. Just going clockwise on my one. That's Alistair Ryan next.
I don't have a problem, but I would prefer to hear the 4 applications and then make a decision. But maybe that's not possible.
No, we can do it any way you want. But the issue is that Tamala has to leave us for one of them because she's declared an interest.
Right.
So if we do them this way, she's able to participate.
Right. Well, just take it as read then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tamala, do you have a view on this one?
I am happy to help support this application as well.
Okay, and Paula, I'm happy as well. It's a SIMD community. They've significantly reduced the amount of money they're asking for. It's an organisation. It's a community that struggled in recent years because the activities going on in the woodland have diminished significantly. It's a big asset for the community, and one of the reasons they're very highly rated for SIMD is poor transport links. So it's good that things like this can happen in their own community. So I think if all 4 members who've commented are minded to approve it, I think that one's getting support. Okay, we'll go. We'll move on to the next one if that's okay. Now, the next one is Invergordon Naval Museum and Heritage Centre. I'll
leave now and just join me after. Thank you.
Hey, Helen, would you be okay to give Councillor Collier a phone when we're complete on this one?
Will do.
Okay, so we're down to 3. So Alistair, don't disappear. Sarah, do you want to go first? First again on this one.
Sorry, just coming back. I was just scanning it again. I may be not the best person to sort of to comment first. I mean, I would personally like to support this particular application as well. I mean, I believe that if they have, having said I'm not the best person to go first, but the application is aimed at getting more people to the museum and to supporting the community there. I mean, I would like to support it, but I don't necessarily have as much experience as everybody else here in locally as to saying whether this is completely viable or not. But my gut feeling would be to wish to support them.
Okay, Sarah, thanks. Helen, you have your hand up.
I just following on from what Councillor Rawling said. I think in the first one, Paula went through any sort of amber red rag wordings to add any comments so that members have that in mind.
Yeah.
When they're thinking, would that be helpful for each of them?
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Paula. I should have come to you first.
Yes, no problem. So yeah, so they have just to point out, so they've changed the title of this project. They changed it to Stay Open Project. So I guess it's just trying to align, you know, and to reflect what they are trying to achieve. So they are trying to, you know, find ways to be able to for the museum to open on a more regular basis, and they find out the heating system is a problem for them, and they also like to use it more as a community hub, not just as a museum. So in terms of the RAG assessment, so there's quite a few ambers here, and the first of all is that they've applied for match funding through the Community Renewable Energy Scheme. So they're applying for 50% of the funding. So the application is still pending at the minute. So that's not approved. So the first two quotes that they had submitted with their original application, it was for electrical heating or infrared heaters. So, you know, these didn't appear to be meeting net zero ambitions. So they have now thought a bit more about how they can improve their heating system that does comply with net zero. So they went to get a quote for an air-to-air source heating units, so they can install those dotted around the museum. So I did ask the applicants if they had actually received any advice. So it wasn't just clear in the application if they've done an assessment, or yeah, if they've had adequate advice from somebody who's who can actually help them achieve this net zero ambition. So, but the fact that they have applied to CARES for 50% of the funding, although that's still pending. So if they were to come back and approve their 50%, so that gives us some comfort that the heating units that they want to install at the museum does meet net zero ambitions. So, and in terms of the other elements of the RAG assessment, it's just been given amber for engagement and support. So although they have provided some letters of support, it's just, you know, the information in the application form was still a little bit weak, but again, it's no reflection of the museum whatsoever. And so in terms of the value for money, that was scored slightly lower because, you know, the first two quotes was based on a completely different heating system than they'd like to achieve. So it's not a comparable heating units. Yeah, so those were the key points in the assessment.
Okay, thanks for that. Mark, I see you've got your hand up as well.
Thanks, Derek. It's just a general question around governance. Is it, and I don't know the answer, which is why I'm asking, I'm hoping Helen might be able to dig me out of a hole here. It's a big hint for Helen. Is it competent to consider a decision when they are asking for matched funding from another organisation and that hasn't been determined? And I suppose the second question would be, if the answer to that is no, then what would members' views be on them asking for a full award like the first application, if that makes sense? So dealing with the first part first, the company doesn't say they want 20 grand. If they don't get the match funding, where are they?
Yeah.
I think the normal condition in that case would be that if a
condition.
grant is offered, it's subject to them obtaining the other funding. And I don't know if there would normally be a timescale on that, so that if it's not working, you know, the money comes back into the pot. But I think that would be the normal practice.
So we'd effectively ring fence it. We've got sufficient money in funds to be able to ring fence if that's the decision you want. And I suppose then that that would be a conditional offer subject to them getting the other lot to say when they are going to decide the application by and ring fence the money for that period of time. So it would probably need to bounce back to another committee for decision on that point. So it would be competent to do it. I was just trying to get that right in my mind there. Sorry for that, but I think it was worth asking. Thanks.
Oh, no, it was. Yeah, I think the issue there is that quite often community projects have more than one funding source. Indeed, it's fairly unusual these days for them to only have one. So I think if we want to, I think a condition that that said that it was a requirement that they get the other half, that's fine. But I think I would give them latitude in terms of time. because CARES from memory, and I think it was I think I was suggesting that CARES was a possible source for match funding previously, and they may do an investigation on the building before they make a decision on the suitability or not. So there might be a little bit of time, and they might also offer them advice on which heating system to would be most beneficial to install. So yeah, I think the suggestion that Mark's made is a good one, and yeah, that's probably something we can have a look at after Councillor Rind has given his opinion.
Well, I'm very happy to support this application. I think the hard-working people down there, it'd be an added attraction for the cruise liners if this museum could open a bit more longer, etc. I understand what Mark's saying, and you know, give some award to it on the condition that this funding is received. You know.
Okay.
Thank you.
That would be my opinion as well. You know, I think they've submitted a good bid. If we want organisations to reduce their CO2 footprint when they come to us and they're looking for support to do that, I think the onus is on us to help them. So I think it's a valid bid. It's obviously been improved by the feedback they've got again. So thanks for that, Paula. And with the condition that Mark suggested, I think the only thing that we would have to do in addition is perhaps put a timeline on it. Paula, would you have a view on that?
Hi, yes. Yeah, so a couple of things. So yeah, we do normally, so if there is an application that is waiting to hear back on match funding, so there is a condition for them to secure that funding within 3 months of its being approved conditionally by members. We don't usually bring applications back to committee to approve them once they've received their match funding. So yeah, it's just whether if that's something you'd like to do. But I guess the thing that we just need to bear in mind is that, you know, the timescales of when committee meetings are, and that the applicant may be keen to get started if they do get their match funding, and they would have to wait for the area committee to come up again to put it back in, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I'd see what the other members think, but I think I would give them 6 months, and I think we should approve it, and it sits there then for 6 months, waiting for them to secure the match funding. Does that sound okay, Sarah and Alison?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I agree. Thank you.
Okay, Helen, sorry, over to you.
No, I just wanted to clarify, yeah, members are seeking to support the application subject to the match funding being found within a period of 6 months. Is that right?
Yeah, we support the application, and the money is ring-fenced for them for 6 months to secure the matched funding that they've described. And that would give them, if they were knocked back for any reason from CARES, it would give them the opportunity either to resubmit a bid for CARES or to try and secure their matched funding somewhere else. But it's given them a reasonable amount of time, I think. Okay. Right, I think if we've made a decision to agree to that award, the next thing would be to get Councillor Collier back in.
I'm
that's
back.
fine. Okay, that's fine. So we can move on. The third application is from the Royal British Legion Scotland Invergordon branch. And Paula, would you, I'll get things right. Paula, would you like to do an introduction to this one?
Help me out, Paula.
So this project is essentially a small internal improvement works to help modernise the facility. So yeah, so the Legion Hall is used to as a community hub, and there's lots of activity going on there. So they use it as a food bank. They have lunch clubs. They have a lot of volunteer support to kind of to run these events. And they're thinking a bit more kind of long term, and they would like to restart the social club and and provide free meals as well to help residents with the cost of living. So they're seeking half the money from the Community Regeneration Fund, so that's just over 14,000, and the total project cost is just over 28,000. So I've given them an amber for the project robustness, is because they have applied for match funding. It's just that they're still waiting on decision if they do secure the 50% of the funding. And then so they've provided one letter of support from the Community Council to show level of support for the project and what they're trying to achieve. And they have provided quite a few quotations from different trades just to show the breakdown of everything that they want to do. So a lot of it is small refurbishment works. Yeah, they're going to improve the lighting, and they're going to make sure that, again, it's going to be compliant with net zero. So they're going to be looking at LED lighting, and they'd also like to have double glazed windows as well, to improve the warmth of the building. So again, straightforward project, refurbishment, no key issues with the application. So
okay, I'm gonna change the format slightly, and Councillor Collier is the local applicant, the local member. So we'll go to Tamala first.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. I have been in and out of the building, so I know what they're doing and how the format and what they're planning on doing in the building as well. I think it's a good chance to give them a opportunity this time, and they are quite robustly working along with the community. So I would say yes, we should help them, and that's my decision. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Rind.
Yes, very happy to support this application. I know the British Legion in Invergordon, hard-working people as well, so it'd be good to support them and encourage them. Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor Rawlings.
Yeah, very, very happy to support this. It sounds like a necessity, and absolutely would support the British Legion. So yes, would get my full support.
Okay, and I'm in agreement with the other three. The activities that they're undertaking seem to be the sort of things that we relied on very heavily during COVID, and now we're into the cost of living crisis, and they do again appear to be ticking all the boxes for me. So Helen, over to you.
Can I just clarify, thinking of the previous application waiting for match funding, is this one still also waiting for match funding, and is that something members need to pick up on?
It certainly would place it in the same category as the last one, I think. We can agree to provide the funding, and that would be on the basis that they secured match funding, and again we give them 6 months to come up with the money. I think that's what we agreed with the previous one. So Paula, are you happy with that approach?
Yes, I can certainly add that as a condition. Like I said previously, our standard is 3 months, but if members wish to extend that to 6 months, then yeah, we can change that. No problem.
Yeah.
If I come
Tamala.
If I could add a little, sorry. Yeah, I know both the applications, the previous application and the British Legion as well. When I spoke to them, they said that their match fundings are getting approved, how much depending on what they're receiving from the Highland Council. So
Yeah,
if we approve it, then they will get the other half. So it's quite a difficult one, yeah.
It isn't difficult. We're making the awards, and that will allow them to say that they have this award from us, and if that releases the matched funding, then by this time next week everybody should be happy. They won't need 6 months. Mark, sorry, over to you.
Exactly, I was just going to make that point. It's exactly the same form of words as we just approved for the last one, except we don't need 6 months. So, there you are. If you're minded to do it, then we have a way of doing it, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Paula, has what we decided there got the clarity you need?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Right, one to go. And that's change mental health, previously Support in Mind Scotland. And it's for Easter Ross Outreach. Paula, would you like to do an introduction to this one?
Thank you. So they would like to recruit an additional part-time outreach worker. So this will be for 12 months. So there's demand for the service in the area. So they do work with people with complex additional mental health needs. So this part-time support officer will be supporting 12 people. So the work is based in Allness. So they're looking for 26,000. This is 100% request from the area funds. Like I said, it's going to run for a year. So the project is ready to start. They actually do have a Highland management team in place, and it is an expansion on what they are currently doing. I think previously when the application came in, it just didn't really detail or give enough information about their track record and what they actually do locally. So the revised application that they have actually come back and give us a lot more information. So they've given examples of like casework and what they've achieved as well in the area. So they have been working in Allness for over 10 years, and they have supported over 200 people since 2013. And they do work closely with the NHS and GP referrals to help ease the services on those demands, on demands on those services. And they have provided a letter of support from the NHS and WAE Scotland, and also in the application they have taken quotations they've received in support of the project from emails as well. So no concerns with this project. This scored quite highly in the RAG assessment.
Thanks, Paula. Mark, over to you.
Thank you very much. I suppose the one thing that I would like a little bit of clarity on this is in section F about how the project will be supported after funding ends. Two things. First of all, I think I'd like to understand better what they are proposing in terms of the project being wound down and support transferring elsewhere. That may well be in their apologies if it is. But the other thing I'd just point out is they are saying that they are intending to investigate sources of additional funding to continue the service after the end of the 12-month funding, and do mention that they intend to apply to ourselves, i.e. the council, amongst a range of other bodies. And it's just to state the obvious point that we are reducing funding and indeed defunding a range of other organisations at this time. So you do need to be mindful of that in reaching a deliberation here, whilst we are defunding other organisations elsewhere, but looking to accept a request to fund here. Again, that's not me making a decision or influencing it at all. I'm just giving my advice on the matter in the context of the wider challenges that the council faces. This is very clearly a member decision, not an officer-led one. But it would be remiss of me not to mention that, so you can factor that in to your decision on this case. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, so I think we'll start going around the room again and see what members' opinions on this are. I'll sort of start with you.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't know where to go with this one. So I'll listen to other people's comments before I make up my mind. I'm concerned about these kind of things, and now with what Mark has just said there, you know, how are we going to keep it going? You know, sometimes these things start up, some of them are successful, others aren't successful. At the end of the day, you start something up, they'll always give you positive outcomes to make it successful, whether that's right or not. So I don't know where I'm going on that. Sorry.
Okay, thanks. Tamala.
I am actually sitting on the fence type with this application. I've tried to find out more information, but all I'm getting is the same sort of, like, the same information from them. And I'd like to see more information, more documents like where Mark carried out as well. So I'm kind of mixed feelings on this applications. I'll wait for others to see what they think like.
Okay, right. Sarah, do you have a view? Do you have a view?
I mean, I obviously absolutely completely understand what the others are saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's already up and running. This isn't it? They've got several people saying how well they've done, and that actually they've been lifesavers to them. At least that's what I understand from having read one or two of the comments.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Paula? Is that it's up? This project is already up and running.
Yeah, it's an
So
expansion
what
of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we will be doing, it was assisting with agreeing to an additional support worker or an additional worker for them to branch out a bit so they can do more of what they're already doing. Well, personally, if they're doing it well and the GPs say they're doing it well and everybody else, and there is a need, then I would be quite keen to support them. I don't know the organisation. I haven't been on the ground, but on the face of it, if there is a need there and they are looking for money in order to expand that requirement for mental health, then I would think that is something that we should support. I completely obviously get what Mark is saying, and that there is a withdrawing down of the amount of funding, but this is here and now. There is a need. There is the money available. And I think we should support them.
Mark, you've got your hand back up.
Yes, thank you for allowing me back in. I know it's not normal practice to make two contributions in a discussion. Hearing what Sarah's had to say, I mean, I understand that. I think that was partly what I was trying to allude to in my first comment, that if we are going to go down the route of doing this, and goodness knows that client group is one which absolutely does need all forms of support, and I see that every day, for example, in terms of a number of clients of the housing service, for example, who do have significant need of that support. The issue for me, if I think about my wider perspective, is that things is people ask me to do things all the time. They say, well, you can have a year's worth of funding. I'm going, well, it doesn't really help me in terms of a service if I haven't got recurring funding. And, you know, so actually on a year's service, by the time you got to month 6, month 7, you need to be thinking about, if I haven't got the money next year, how do I wind this down? So to me, it seems on the face of it, a competent application to be made. But the key question really, amongst everything else, is tell us what your plan is to replace the funding or to wind this project down before month 12, and we need to be satisfied, or you need to be satisfied, I should say, as members, of the challenge that comes around service funding being withdrawn or indeed awarded in the first place, in the context that I mentioned earlier on of other services being defunded and indeed other third sector organisations being defunded. And that's a really difficult decision. There's no right or wrong answer necessarily. I suppose for once, luckily, it's not me having to make that decision, but I do think that you do need to factor those things in. Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? Because I'm quite happy to conclude that I haven't understood this properly. So, and listening to Mark speak there, is it that the whole project would be closed down at the end of the year, or would it be just that this particular person that is being taken on for a year to expand the project at this for this limited project? And we do take, maybe I come from a background that we often take on people for a year's project, and that is ring fence money and a ring fence task, and then that goes. So I would be looking at it as that particular. This is for a year. We know it's for a year. That we are not saying there's going to be any more money. Quite definitely, there's not. And so that's what I would be looking at in this context.
Thanks, Sarah. And I've been remarkably silent and have actually said nothing myself. So prove I can listen on the odd occasion. The way I'm looking at this. Firstly, I'll talk about the negatives first, and the negative is as Mark's described it. There's no guarantee of continuing funding, and the other thing that struck me when I read it is it seemed very mainstream. It's almost like the sort of social care that you would expect the social care service to be providing. It's mental health care. And I don't think that that's really the purpose that these funds were originally thought of as being for. However, clearly, as Sarah's highlighted, I do think the Easter Ross area, that this year's report from the Director of Public Health didn't refer to the same problems as it had the year before, but the year before's one showed that we had a crisis in mental health. We had the highest rate of suicide in the Highlands, and I think anything that was helping with that is something, even if we can only support it in the short run, we should do. I don't think it would be appropriate for us to prevent an organisation that's helping very challenged individuals when we have that funding available. My personal view is that we should be providing the support. We can't offer any guarantees beyond 1 year. And I think that's just the nature of this. So it's a one-off grant. It will help a number of people with mental health issues in the next year, and I'm in favour of it going through. And I wonder if the others would consent to it. On that basis. Tamala.
I am happy to help it. I'm happy to support the application. It's just that I was on a fence type, with few of the items. I do understand where you're coming from. They are doing a service, yes. It's just that how would they continue to do that service if we cut off the funding? So as far as we keep ourselves open and honest and explain that situation, and if they can give us a satisfactory response to that, I think we should support it. Yeah.
But we make it clear that it is a one-off.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Alistair?
How much are they looking for?
What,
Screen
28?
26,000.
26.
26,342.
That's fine, thank you. I'll just go with the majority. I'm not
Okay.
over convinced about it, but I'll go with the majority. I
Thanks.
can think of other people that are helping in, well, especially in our community, are helping these sorts of people, and are getting no funding support whatsoever from the council.
I would say to you there, Alistair, yeah, that's actually very true, but we haven't used up all the money in the pot.
Mhm.
And another round will hopefully appear where those organisations can be pointed in the direction of this help. Helen?
Yeah, again, just to come in, the application itself, I think, notes that they will be using the evidence to apply for funding elsewhere in future years. It doesn't say they wouldn't come to us as well, but they clearly
Yeah.
understand that. And you know, we were talking about grant conditions on the earlier ones, so maybe it could, the offer of grant could explicitly say that it's for one fixed year and not recurring.
Okay. Sarah?
I think also, I mean, I take Alistair's point, obviously, but at least this organisation has got their act together and has put an application in, and they are looking to ways to raise funding. And actually, it's quite a comprehensive request now. So, you know, I mean, I think they should be applauded for doing that.
Yeah. You know, I think there are significant mental health issues in Easter Ross, and I'm glad that members have agreed to support it on a one-off basis. Paula, I know we rambled around a bit there, but are you clear? You know what we're saying on that. We agree to support the funding bid, but you know, we spell it out that it's a one-off grant and for 1 year.
Yes, I made note of that, so we can let the applicant know.
Okay, you were very quiet there. I don't
Sorry,
quite know whether.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I've just got a bit of a cold. My voice is just sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I've made note of that. That it is for a 1 year fixed only, and that will be included as a note or a condition on the grant.
Okay, that's fine. Right. Fiona, you're hiding in the background, but have I done everything I'm supposed to have done?
Still here. Yes, I think that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, right. If that's fine, and oh, Tamala.
Sorry, a quick question. Do we check any audited records, audited like, you know, accounts from these projects or anything like that? Do we check what they do with the money? Do we? Yeah, that's better, just to have an understanding. Thanks.
Okay, so maybe with the last one, you want to check that they actually do employ an extra officer in Easter Ross. I'm sure that Paula will be on their case, and certainly we'll find out if that wasn't to happen. No, that I'm sure, Paula, you can give that reassurance.
Yeah, we check all those information when they submit the claim, and they have to prove that they've that they have a person employed. Sometimes they might include a timesheet, and obviously we check their bank statements and that the funding is going to the right place. So yeah, we do all those checks.
Okay, right. If there's no other questions from anybody, I think we've reached the end of the meeting. Thank all the members for their attendance, and thank all the officers for the work that went on behind the scenes, Paula, and thank Mark for attending, and Helen for attending, and Fiona for keeping me right as ever when I stray from the proper path. So thanks very much, everybody, and that's declare the meeting closed.